Okay, let's dive into this. Because if you've ever felt totally overwhelmed by the constant pressure to, invent the next big disruptive app or launch some crazy viral brand just to get ahead financially, you are in exactly the right place. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to explore the surprising and, frankly, kind of mind-blowing reality of how self-made wealth is actually built. And spoiler alert, it looks absolutely nothing like a tech pitch competition. We are going to break down the exact step-by-step mechanics of quiet, unglamorous wealth creation. So I want you to picture this. Put yourself in the shoes of a 29-year-old shift supervisor at a regional warehouse. You're working hard, doing the grind, but you just feel completely stuck. You've probably tried all those flashy side hustles you see screenshotted all over social media, and let's be real, it is exhausting when they all just fall flat. But what if the real secret to breaking out of this paycheck-to-paycheck cycle isn't finding some brilliantly clever idea? What if the answer is actually to stop chasing those viral trends entirely and instead start being useful in a really unglamorous, highly repeatable way?
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the staggering difference in survival rates. The exciting, highly Instagrammable startups, the ones everybody wants to brag about at a neighborhood barbecue, actually fail far more often than they succeed in those first few critical years. They basically exhaust themselves trying to manufacture demand out of thin air. On the flip side, boring businesses, stuff like self-serve car washes or, storage units, they regularly post success rates north of 90%. Why is that? Simply because they aren't trying to invent a brand new need. They are just quietly fulfilling a demand that already exists day in and day out.
To really put this into perspective, let's look at the number 3,150. That is the starting monthly take-home pay of our 29-year-old protagonist. When this entire journey kicks off, this person's total net worth is literally just a 14-year-old rusty pickup truck with a cracked windshield and exactly $612 sitting totally untouched in a savings account. There's no massive trust fund here, no wealthy angel investor swooping in. It's just a very relatable, super tight monthly budget with basically zero wiggle room.
And look, it definitely isn't for a lack of trying. Our supervisor actually tried an NFT project, which cost $900 and returned exactly zero. Ouch. They tried launching a phone case drop shipping store. It got 4 total sales in 3 months, and 2 of them were refunded. They even religiously posted to a fitness coaching page for half a year and never converted a single paying client. It's an exhausting reality, right? Because every single one of these flashy attempts shared the exact same shape: a massive burst of initial excitement, a highly complicated setup, and absolutely zero reliable income, all because they just didn't have built-in customers.
Let's move to Section 1 and see how this builds. The pivot: 4 unremarkable wealth builders.
So, the real turning point happens on a slow Tuesday during a mandatory overtime shift, fueled by this sudden realization that being clever just isn't paying the rent. Our protagonist decides to pivot their strategy entirely. They start diving into deep research, literally poring over small business marketplaces and old interviews with completely unremarkable local operators. Here is a high-level preview of the 4 incredibly boring businesses they end up acquiring over the next few years. A car wash, netting $1,540 a month. Property management, pulling in $1,240. Vending machines, clearing $1,310. And pest control, netting $1,890. I know, none of these sound thrilling. But let's break down exactly how these unglamorous income streams were acquired and how they started to stack up.
All right, acquisition number 1 is a 4-base self-serve car wash owned by a retiring woman named Rosalind. To scrape together the $19,500 down payment, our protagonist actually sells that rusty pickup truck and takes out a small, admittedly nerve-wracking personal loan. Rosalind kindly carries a seller finance note for the rest. After a pretty slow start, they fix a chronically broken vacuum station and add a super simple loyalty punch card. By month 6, the take-home climbs to $1,540. Now, it's not millions, but it is a massive milestone. It's the very first time they've made money that didn't require trading an hour of their physical life to get it.
Business 2 happens, almost entirely by accident. The landlord of the strip mall where the car wash sits is just totally exhausted from managing his other rental properties. Out of sheer curiosity, our protagonist steps up and offers to take some of the paperwork off his plate for a flat fee. Word quickly spreads through the landlord's network, and before long, they're managing 22 rental doors across town at $85 per door. By simply handling those annoying 10 p.m. repair calls and the messy paperwork that nobody else wants to deal with, it turns into a scalable side business netting a cool $1,240 a month.
Now for what is arguably the least interesting business on the entire list: vending machines. After noticing an empty machine in one of their managed buildings, they track down a semi-retired operator and buy 3 machines outright for $4,150. They strategically place them in high-traffic spots they already have access to, like the waiting area of their own car wash. The actual work is literally just driving a short loop, refilling snacks, and collecting cash. Yet by month 10, after swapping out some slow-selling items and adding a fourth machine, it quietly adds a highly reliable $1,310 to their monthly profit. It's beautiful in its simplicity.
The final piece of this whole puzzle is pest control. A tenant mentions that their pest technician is retiring. Our protagonist swoops right in, buys the route, the equipment, and the entire client list for $11,000, which actually includes 3 months of technical training from the retiring owner. This route consistently covers 64 homes, with each paying $54 a month automatically. After factoring in all expenses and loan payments, this single truck operation nets $1,890 a month. And this right here, this marks a pivotal, massive financial turning point in the journey.
Just take a look at this number, $5,900. By stacking these 4 incredibly unglamorous businesses together, our protagonist is now generating $5,900 a month in outside income. That literally means these boring side businesses are now paying more than their warehouse day job pays before tax. The financial leverage here has completely 100% flipped. But hey, if you're sitting there thinking this sounds like a total breeze, we definitely need to take a hard look at the reality of the day-to-day operations.
Which brings us to Section 2, Surviving the Gritty Reality, Month 14.
We really need to shatter this whole myth of immediate passive income right now. When you compress years of work into an explainer like this, it sounds incredibly smooth, doesn't it? But when the honeymoon phase ends, the friction is incredibly real, and you are the ultimate backstop for absolutely everything that goes wrong. And this brilliantly illustrates what happens when it hits the fan. Imagine it's month 14. 2 car wash vacuums break in the same exact week. A tenant suddenly vanishes without paying rent, and you're spending your precious weekends filing small claims evictions. Meanwhile, 2 pest control hires fall through, meaning you are the one climbing into dark, dirty crawl spaces at 6 in the morning before rushing to your 9 a.m. warehouse shift. That kind of pain doesn't show up in a monthly profit spreadsheet, but it is the gritty, unfiltered reality of building real wealth.
This brutal phase is what we like to call the survival filter. It quietly, effectively filters out almost everyone who expects a business to just run itself from day one. See, boring businesses do not reward cleverness, they reward stamina. Period. What actually gets you through these incredibly dark, exhausting weeks isn't some dramatic motivational speech. It's the simple, undeniable fact that the bank deposits still land. Unlike a dropshipping store that instantly dies the very second you stop pushing paid ads, a broken vacuum doesn't stop people from putting cash into the other 3 working car wash bays. The pest control invoices, they still go out and they still get paid automatically.
Let's look at Section 3, the 3-part asset test.
Okay, so once you survive that filter, something big shifts in your brain. You realize that the specific industry, whether it's car washes, pest control, or vending, matters way less than the shared pattern beneath all of them. Whenever you are looking at local businesses for sale, you need to run them through this exact 3-part test. Step 1. Does the need repeat naturally? Think about it. Cars get dirty again. Pests always come back. You don't have to manufacture any urgency. Step 2. Is the purchase small enough to completely skip deliberation? Nobody calls a serious family meeting over a $12 car wash or a $54 bug spray. The revenue is incredibly steady because the price point is just incredibly low friction. And step 3, the big one. Can you eventually own the asset?
So the crucial point is this definition of asset ownership right here. This is exactly what separates a really high-paying chore from true generational wealth generation. When you own the car wash equipment, or the pest control route's client list, or those property management contracts, you own something that has concrete value completely independent of your continued daily involvement. You aren't just renting access to someone else's platform or algorithm anymore. You are building equity that silently compounds year after year.
Moving on to our final section, Section 4, Becoming a Quiet Millionaire.
Let's fast forward the timeline a bit to reveal the true compounding magic of simply staying consistent. This is where all those painful early mornings and broken vacuums finally pay off in a way that changes a life permanently. At age 29, remember, they had just $612. Over years 2 through 6, they steadily accumulated these 4 unremarkable businesses, all while living the exact same modest lifestyle, driving a used vehicle, and parking any extra cash in simple index funds.
Now, by age 36, all the business loans are paid off. The car wash alone is appraised at around $310,000. The property management book is worth $94,000, and the pest control route sits at a very solid $71,000. They simply let these incredibly unremarkable income streams compound quietly against each other.
Which brings us to this absolutely incredible number, $1.2 million. By age 36, our one-stuck warehouse supervisor has a net worth crossing the $1.2 million mark. And the craziest part? They did it without a single dramatic headline, without a viral moment on TikTok, and without inventing anything new whatsoever. It was achieved through undeniable discipline and the sheer willingness to do the unglamorous work that everyone else was actively avoiding.
Which leaves us with this final, vital question for you. Are you ready to trade dinner party bragging rights for a highly profitable, perfectly ordinary Tuesday? Because the secret to wealth isn't actually hidden. It's just unglamorous enough that almost nobody bothers looking for it. So take a look around your own neighborhood, find the tired owners, find the proven repeat demand services, and ask yourself if you're ready to stop being clever and start building real, quiet wealth. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope this completely changes how you view the boring businesses right in your own backyard.